various ways that the Black History Museum would be used. I'm not going to go into all of it in great detail, but I will say this though. This would be the various types of programs that we would have year-round that would attract adults as well as children, telling the story from, again, with Fable at the center, from the very beginning with Charles Chestnut all the way to George Floyd and J. Cole. So spanning the entire history there. And again, allowing Fable to be able to interact with the museum in various ways and components, making it something that you just don't see, but you interact with. If nothing else, when we talk about how will this get done, community engagement is at the core. So engaging the community in a multifaceted way is going to be extremely important when it comes to not only pulling the stories from the community of Fable and incorporating that into the museum, or whether it's having a 20-person advisory board from the Fable community that would also help kind of guide the project as we get their feedback. All the way to having a very detailed media strategy as well. Again, engagement will be extremely important through every phase. Across Cumberland County will be extremely important while moving forward with this particular project. So at this time, what I would like to do is hand it over to Pascal Sablon, who represents Isaiah Associates, and she'll be able to go into a little bit more detail with their particular role with this project as well. See, Pascal, are you on?
I am. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, thank you for being on.
Oh, my pleasure, and my apologies for the delay. I'm so excited to engage with you all today and talk about this amazing project, but also about the Isaiah Associates and the great work that we do. And I'm not sure if the slides are being shared on the screen to share kind of some imagery that supports some of the language that I'll be speaking to.
You have the global works on the, that's the first slide, the global works. So yes.
Great. So, yes. So basically what we want to talk about is that with David's work and his approach is really allowing him to really take all the information, the strategies globally that he's participated in, and really bring that to be part of a resource in the way that it's leveraged in the project itself. And that really when he thinks about design justice and how it reaches different communities, it starts with deep integrated research as well as community engagement. And when I say deep research, I mean we are studying and understanding local understandings of the site, not just what's there, but what was there before that, and really truly understand the history and the catalyst of what required and made the changes to the site. And rooted in that history and that information, that's when the really great work starts to begin, and that also is needed to be integrated with community engagement as well. So what you talked about before about that communication being necessary is very much in line with the global justice work that David has been doing through design, both here in the U.S. and globally as well. And as you can see in the range of portfolio images that are kind of passing through the screen, it's showing that we thrive for that justice, not just in large-scale projects, but really small, intimate-scale projects as well, because everyone deserves and demands justice in the built environment, and how the built environment itself is a manifestation of culture, of identity, and of history that keeps record, that keeps the momentum of what has happened, and make sure that generations to come fully understand the facets of who they are and how they impact and try to change the world in the future. And so through that process, you're seeing on your screen, hopefully, more imagery about projects, images, and then I wanted to share a few case study projects that also drive that home, where we're showing projects that have deep sectional advice and understandings of how programs come together, that are really understanding through that engagement, through that thread that's needling through all the aspects, is about programs and adjacencies to the programs. And those programs not just be flexible, but actually be adaptable, where we're envisioning both and from an aspirational standpoint, but also future-proofing the design and the work to ensure that as society evolves, as catastrophes and epidemics and such come through, we are able to allow for our structures and our design to be emblematic of those values and those ethoses, persevere to make sure that that engagement and that work and that value is manifested through not just the conceptual imagery, but through the documentation process and through the execution of the project. And we even push the needle forward by creating even post-occupancy, where we go back to the community groups, to the clients, to the stakeholders, to ensure that the values that we had set forth in the beginning is maintained and sustained throughout the process. And then what I want to really make sure that we share is that we typically partner with local community groups, local architects and design studios to ensure that we really have financial justice and an investment back to the community at hand, and that we partner. And through that process have developed a series of technologies and methods of collaboration that allows us to transcend locations and spaces and really leverage the best of the offerings of a community and space. And with this unique opportunity that we're speaking to here in Fayetteville, we really have this profound moment here where we're taking spaces, speaking to that history and manifesting it into the built environment. And so projects like the Smithsonian, that is a 100-year legacy of advocacy, that it's a 100 years of asking for our structure that speaks to the African-American contributions to society to actually come to fruition. We are dedicated. We are putting the time and the effort, and we're invested. And lastly, because I'm not sure I'm going too long, because I know we have a tight schedule, is to say we are part of the process from the beginning to end. And why I want to emphasize this is because usually with the idea of David and this global impact that you all think as a global community, that we're only coming at a certain touch point. No, we are here from the beginning, and we continue through the process. And so my base, although it's in funny shadows and lighting right now, is one that you all and your community will get quite familiar with, and will be part of the process going through to the end of the project. And so hopefully through what I'm saying here and what you're seeing on the screen really enforces that. And having projects that really speak to the legacy and the experience level of David and the design team is quite urgent and important. And I think last kind of project that's in the deck that I want to make sure that I make a moment to pause to is the Vision for Barbados, where it's a project where they were able to identify 570 remains on a site that was buried on a plantation. And my understanding is the only place in the world where the slaves who worked the plantation is actually buried on site and interred there. And finding ways to create both a memorial that speaks to that legacy, that's not just in the ground, but really reach through and create these very tall totems that come from different countries that speak to the history and the reach of the transatlantic slave trade, to make it intertwined with community and society so that they can participate in, and also have a heritage cultural component that has a museum aspect to it, that also provides a space for that history to be transcended, to be developed, to be communicated, and be offered to the community for them to engage with as well as the Data Research Center and the Genealogy Center. So I say all this to say is that these are projects that we're very much passionate about. These are projects that are refined and impacted through our portfolio. And it's a process that is not just about the end result, about the end beautiful project, but really about the integrated and equitable process that we're working on as well. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Pascal. Thanks again, Pascal, for that information. Say one thing is,
Can you go back a couple of screens so you can see one more? Yeah, so
Yes.
I think it's important for people to kind of know who some of these folks are, just to.
Yeah, Bill, do you want to mention a little bit? And I think and having Pascal on the call, and Sir David Audrey engaged is a unique interest and relationships around this site, around this property. Bill, many of these are people that you've reached out to through your work. Just share a little bit about some of the partners that are participating.
So through this process, which is, as Robo has said, has gone on for approximately a year and a half, we've developed relationships and interests from a variety of high-level partners that we think would be brought to support the project in whatever various capacity is necessary to make this highly successful. So when you think of Lonnie Bunch, he was the executive director of the National Museum of African American History and Culture, and is now the director of the entire Smithsonian. Arizona State Department of English has been feeding us with ideas about authors, feeding off of the Charles Chestnut theme, from academic to youth programming. Ayanna Thompson is a theater expert, academic in theater, and has interpreting particularly classic theater, Shakespeare, and reconstructed in a Black context. On Macbeth and Broadway, but her ideas as to what an ongoing performance of Black theater would look like, she can bring her expertise to it. And I won't go through the rest of it except just to mention that Clark Construction. So with Sir David as a architect, you also need to build it, and you need a professional builder. we're not sure that Clark would be the builder, but they're there to advise us as to how a project like this will grow out. So should I stop there, Chairman, or?
I mean, you cannot mention you gotta mention Federal State because it's on there now. You can't.
I'm so
Don't
sorry.
play Federal and not mention.
Well, we have several.
Trying to sell me something. You know.
We have not asked permission of the Chancellor, but we have several.
But you got to say the police you may be engaged in this community concept.
We have several of his faculty who are very interested in participating in the project. One of whom is named in the planning grant, which is the Goldman Farley, and several others who are mentioned who she has talked to, and that we would be bringing in this part, in this initial stage of building the historiography of the Black story of Fayetteville. So we would like to expand that role and do it and talk about it. So that's why I was saying we'd like to come your way if that's okay. Chancellor. And is that enough or okay? Thank you. Next.
If you would, don't skip that one back up, one more there. Yeah, I think that's important here. This has been a conversation today, and this has been a conversation today and a concept, and it has evolved and continues to. People have expressed an interest in the concept, and that's what we're bringing here today to say it's time to share it, to see if it's garnered support and interest. We would be then creating a plan. But I think important in this, beyond, this is really there is a museum at the heart of it that would be interactive and engaging, but it would also collect the compelling stories and the history of the Black community here in Fayetteville and Cumberland County that, from what I've been told, is we're losing some of these to time. And so now is the time to inventory and archive and keep those. It would integrate, develop plans that connect our cultural assets and the corridor projects in our community beyond downtown, across all of Fayetteville and out into the county. And ultimately, we would end up with conceptual designs to be brought forward for fundraising and future follow-through.
A couple things I just want to touch on really quick. Again, a few things that Pascal was able to share is she touched on not only their very intricate process, their engagement process with the community to make sure that whatever project that they work on is very intimately intertwined with the community that they're actually doing the structure in. The other thing is, they briefly saw some of the images of some of the structure they did all around the world. And the question that I asked before closing is Cumberland County as well. As you see here, we see like the budget ask for this particular project, and I believe for the ask for Cumberland County specifically was half of what this particular total budget was here. But this will be the total budget for the first phase of this particular project. And lastly, just to kind of touch on that, this particular project is something that is not only going to be obviously impactful for the community today, but will leave an indelible impression on the community moving forward as well. And like I said, having that positive spotlight on this particular community, taking the lead as a city, as a community, doing something so proactive, again, would garner national attention in a positive manner. And I say, why not Fayetteville? Why not Cumberland County? So.
Anybody have any questions, comments? No. I was looking this way from my conversation.
You know what? This is very welcome. There's a lot of history here in Fayetteville and Cumberland County regarding Black folks here. And to be able to share this throughout the nation would be a tremendous asset to Cumberland County, Fayetteville, the state of North Carolina, and a gift to the United States of America. With that being said,
well, let me see what I'm at that table.
I'm sorry, I came in late. I had work to do.
You got a day job?
Yeah. The price, is any of that being paid or been paid? Is this like what you have to spend, or is this what you're asking for? Or?
This is the amount it takes to do this initial phase, to complete that work, that engagement, that design. And so we are putting the conversation out. We'll be taking this to the city council at their work session coming up, and we are putting out to our elected officials, is this something you would like to play a role in driving?
city has lots of money. No, that's right. No, I agree with Charles that this is, we always seem to want to copycat stuff. And I like the idea of whether it's, animals that need protection or something, just, if we're the first at it, I just like that theory a whole lot better than waiting to see someone else be successful and copy it. I'm not opposed to copying it. In fact, we've talked about some of the little homeless projects that are going around the country. Some of them have kind of gotten the idea and are working on it. So there's no problem copying it, but you won't have nearly the impact on having one of these in each state. That just won't do it.
But I think it's not about copying. It's really about leveraging this incredible information and resources that we're getting from the community and allowing that to be used in the process. So it's not necessarily about copying, but actually being strategic about learning from one another and being able to apply that to our projects as well. And as you can see from the work that we do, everything is bespoke and unique to that community to ensure that we're making sure that what's reflected there is actually accurate and bespoke and of value to them.
Vice Chairwoman Stewart.
This is the second time that I've seen this presentation. The first time I was thoroughly impressed. Today I'm overwhelmingly impressed. I think, as you stated, why not Fayetteville? I say why not Cumberland County? And I think that we would be remiss to not highlight a great, what I know will be a great facility, and I'm excited to even begin to see, to even hear the conversation. So thank you for the presentation.
And I will tell you that we've had a number of conversations. We've actually walked the property, have not met Pascal, but her energy and enthusiasm has probably pushed me over the brink even more so. I like you guys, but I like Pascal and share energy and everything. Y'all were smart to put her on.
That's my specialty. High energy is definitely my specialty, what I bring forward.
That's exactly right. I think it's important for us to realize that they came to economic development first because it is going to be an economic, opportunity for this community. Not just it's to tell the story, but also the economic part of it. But to have someone like Mr. Ajay, who is world renowned, to say he came to Fayetteville and did this is, it's beyond belief. But I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Mr. Fleshman, who is from Fayetteville, whose idea and concept, and his whole family, who's given back to this community and is willing to give this piece of property and use his expertise to go out and help us fundraise. It's not like we're going to do this all on our own. I always tell everybody that I believe government starts a flame, but it is the community that ignites it and makes it into a blaze. And so the community engagement part caught my eye to have this entire community engaged. And, we talk about the African American Museum, but when you talk about that, you talk about a community as a whole, black, white, everybody else, and all the diversity that's in this community. So it's an exciting concept. I will tell you just from this one, Commissioner, I am in line and engaged and looking to moving forward with this concept. And Mr. Evans is at his hands, Commissioner Evans is at his hands. So Commissioner Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's my distinct honor and privilege to make this motion that we set aside $450,000 for the proposed African American Museum here in Cumberland County.
A second.
A second.
All right. Any questions? All those in favor?
Voting in favor, Commissioner Stewart, Adams, Evans, and Bruce. Voting in opposition, Commissioner
I need
Jones.
some information, please, because we already have one started. Museum started. It is not that I oppose it at all. But I got to see the figures on the budget. We're still asking for money for, the one that we got, what, $4 million for?
$4 million. You talking about $7.5 million for the Civil War Museum? Is that what you're talking about? That we already got money for? I'm asking.
Charles, I will have a discussion with you, but I'm not gonna have an argument.
So
It's not
that's,
argument, I'm just
yeah, that's, the 7.5, we've got that museum, and then this is the, 450 that we just approved, to move forward, which will go to the, item of business, to the, agenda, next week. Thank you all so very much for coming, thank you for that.
I just have to comment, if I could get up, wasn't just hobbling over, I had to go get Jeanette a hug. I just love seeing people ask about where's the money coming from and everything. You know. It just, when you were saying that, well, must have been something in candy bar.
I'm in favor.
In favor of that, I got that, put that in the
I'm
minutes,
in favor.
she's in favor, yeah. That will take us to the, Madam Manager, to the, FSU Innovative and Entrepreneur Hub.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to ask Chancellor Allison and Robert Bankins to step forward. And we are to receive some information today on Federal State University's Innovation and Entrepreneurship Hub and the Community Development Foundation's Equity Venture Capital Fund. And we're going to hear first from Chancellor Allison. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Adams and the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners. We appreciate the opportunity to come before you to share information about the exciting new Innovation and Entrepreneurship Hub being launched at Federal State University with opening schedule by this August 2022. On October 12th last year, I had the privilege of announcing that Federal State University will be transforming Bronco Square commercial development on Murchison Road, adjacent to our campus. We have 32,000 square feet of highly visible, readily accessible business space located near the nexus of Murchison Road in downtown Belleville. We want to make this development a more powerful canvas for economic growth in our increasingly vibrant community. Designed to accommodate up to 20 tenants, we intend to make this center of revitalized economic activity. As a first step, we purchased the 50% of the development that we did not own. We did that debt-free. Secondly, I announced that we would be repurposing the primary Bronco Square anchor, a 6,500 standalone building that had been the university's bookstore. The bookstore is being moved, and the space will be transformed to create an innovative standalone 6,500 square foot innovation and entrepreneurship hub. This hub is essentially designed to be a contribution to the community. The key goal will be to help and empower entrepreneurs and small businesses throughout the greater Cumberland County region to achieve their potential for economic success. And this will not be a typical incubator in which small businesses rent space on a relatively long-term basis, but rather we will be a hub of activity where businesses can come to get advice and counsel on growth strategies, leverage the expertise of our top-ranked business school faculty to get assistance in such areas as creating improved targeted marketing strategies to enhance growth of current businesses, to market research to identify new business opportunities to help increase cash flow, and collaboratively with faculty on grants to commercialize new product ideas. In addition, access advanced technology, computers, equipment to help in market research, business planning, web design, product design, and 3D printing. And we'll be able to meet with others for coffee and informal collaborative workspaces or in conference rooms with video conferencing capabilities, receive training, do business success workshops on shared ideas in larger meeting settings. Now, this hub will provide convenient one-stop access to a broad range of entrepreneurial support expertise, including personnel to help get the word out to small businesses about contracting opportunities at our university and elsewhere in our region, in collaboration with resources from a grant support initiative of the King Flagler Business School of UNC Chapel Hill, with a particular focus on identifying minority businesses to add to the pool of those qualified to bid. The regional branch of the state-run Small Business and Technology Development Center, SBTDC, which focuses primarily on helping establish small businesses grow revenue and profits and jobs. The Veterans Business Outreach Center will also be housed here, which assists veterans and their families launch to grow new businesses. We're already funded by $1.5 million by the U.S. Small Business Administration. The Economic Development Administration University Center, which provides training and support and resource referrals for emerging businesses with a particular focus on reaching those from underrepresented segments already supported with approximately $1 million in funding from the U.S. Department of Commerce. We are excited about the ability to offer this space for use by our community. We're also excited that others share our commitment to this accelerated growth in this area by leveraging this innovative community-centered focused hub, requiring a total capital investment of approximately $1.7 million. We, FSU, has already invested $600,000. In addition, current and prospective partners in this initiative include the Garnish Fund, which has already contributed almost $200,000 directly to FSU in capital operations support, has also committed another $200,000 approximately through support of the UNC Chapel Hill initiative, which will be assisting the hub. You'll be hearing from Robert Ben Gins of the Community Development Foundation Equity Venture Capital Fund. The U.S. Department of Commerce, where we have submitted a grant proposal of approximately $600,000 for technology needs, and that's in process. The City of Fenton, where we will be submitting a proposal for approximately $250,000 in funding support. Us to close the funding gap and move forward as expeditiously as possible. We are thus seeking $250,000 in funding from the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners. We appreciate the board's interest in this highly impactful initiative. The county's investment will go far in helping us achieve our shared vision of empowering and even greater economic possibilities for the residents of this wonderful county. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
Robert, you want to,
If you'd like to ask the chancellor a question about this,
well,
ours is a
I'm
little
going
bit
to do it
different.
all together. You can do it all that stuff.
I don't know that. Yeah. Bachelor. Well, I think what the chancellor has laid out is an incredible project. It'll bring great value to the community. It'll be a source of innovation, of incubation, and the building of new businesses. So a next step in that has been a question that started as we were evaluating why so many good efforts were coming together, but we weren't seeing the results that we as a community wanted. We have created a local procurement program. The county's participated in. The city and PwC have got a local procurement legislation. We have created loan funds. But what we found time and again was, in order to create businesses of size, transferable equity is transformational is my own personal mantra on this here, where we create businesses that are large enough that they are sustainable and can be sold, or they can be passed on to another generation. How do we grow that? And that was by injecting the same private sector model that is used by many states for IT development or for biotech, and investing in Black-owned businesses and communities of color, where we take that patient capital, inject it into the business so they can grow in size, and then leverage that virtuous circle of the other components we have here. So our goal is to create 10 businesses with 10 employees or more within 5 years, have that patient capital, the engagement of the private sector, and this funding will initially be geared towards businesses that have a ready market here, which are those of us in the community institutions that procure, the hospital, the community college, PwC, the county, the city. We will recruit private equity towards that. We are looking to match dollar for dollar this allocation. And the ventures would be required to work with our technical and training partners like FSU, and those funds would be expected to participate and pay that forward through their activities, and eventually the capital would be reimbursed. These funds came through a direct allocation from the state of North Carolina budget. State Senator Kirk Devier heard this mission We've asked the Fed to look at it too, and we'd love to see more people follow this. But this is truly the first time this model has been applied to this important goal. And I'll just say on that there that it is one of the reasons why it is always good. We have our CDF, which is funded through our private sector donors and has its nonprofit status. That both this funding and the HR Talent Portal funding that you allowed for will be able to pass through that, and having that nonprofit status allows us to procure that. So I'll take any questions, but we see businesses starting here, serving this community, and then coming through this process to grow to where they go from 1 or 2 people to 10 to 20.
Anybody have any questions for the Chancellor or for Robert? I would tell you that from my standpoint, Golden Leaf has been there and still, I guess, engaged, Chancellor.
Coming back again.
Okay, to be able to do it. I know I sent it to the manager, but I don't know if I sent it to everybody else. But in the News and Observer a couple of days ago, they got a little project like this. So I just tell Wake County they have a little small project. Theirs deals with one segment of the business. This, I think, deals with the entire community and with the city, the county, economic development. Pushes us far ahead of what they do, and the UNC system, right? I think the UNC system. I think Commissioner Booth shared it.
Well, just the question is, that would be ideal that the 10 pay it all back and it's all there for another 10. What if 7 are able to pay it back? Where does the gaps get filled and how?
That's a really great question. This is a pilot project, so we will have recourse. This is a capital fund. It's investing in equipment, in whether it's trucks, so that people can then do work they couldn't do before, say perhaps for Metronet or Lumen or these others. So we have recourse to reclaim against, well, it's not the goal. This is for growing established businesses versus seed capital for startups. So we should have a much higher success rate coming back. And there will be a premium on that return capital at the end in the buyout. So if 30% go, will we recoup 30%? I'm uncertain this time until we structure everything out. But we will return back into the fund more than we put out.
But I guess I would ask, and I'd ask the Chancellor, we have the Dean of the Business School. The idea is that through the Entrepreneur Hub, that you will provide hopefully enough expertise to these companies that we don't get to that part.
Yeah, it's the bad.
Yeah.
It's the bad. We don't want to be missing. So it's an idea that a steady relationship between the two. We've got one of the finest business schools, not just in the state but in the nation. We're going to make sure we do a better job with that. Business school online MBA is number 1 at HBCU in the nation, and we're number 3 in the state, only behind Chapel Hill State. And so we're going to have expertise like number 4, regardless of your minority, women, or a veteran that's transitioning, looking to start a business, grow their business. We're going to be with you every step of the way, so that when they're in a position to look at it, that's just not only new but also existing expansion. And so with that, with the close partnership here, and with that data and information, because it will be data information along with the heartstrings, we sit down and engage our partner here, because again, when we hit more than we miss to your point.
Relationship is, as they get started up, this funding model requires that they allow for and engage in an ongoing direct relationship with the funding group and with the counselors throughout the process. So it's not a set it and forget it. They got a certificate, they come out. They're going to have to be in that continuous loop of conversation, so we should be able to catch as many issues as possible.
And I think the collaboration between NC Works, the university, the city's been involved, having talked to the mayor, economic development, the chamber. This is truly a community effort to be able to do all of this. I applaud Fayetteville State for undertaking the Entrepreneur Hub and for Fayetteville Cumberland County economic development to be able to get this kind of funding to be able to push this community. You know, one of the things that I think the Vice Chairwoman and I have found from talking to some of the groups is capacity to be able to do. We got a lot of money coming into this community from the state, from ARPA, from the federal, from infrastructure. Do we have the expertise and the capacity to be able to do that? With some local businesses, clearly some of them have to come from out of town. but we just as soon use this local talent to be able to do that. And I think that's what this entrepreneur hub does, and that's why I wanted the fellow commissioners to be able to do that. I think $250,000 when we get to that point is a small investment in what we're going to be able to do for this entire community. So I applaud all of you all for this endeavor. And Chancellor, you want to introduce your folk that's on the wall so we all know who we're looking at?
Yeah, so to the left, to the right here, best of you may stand, these are Associate Vice Chancellor of Community Relations and Economic Partnerships, and the final party here, and Interim Chancellor of University Advancement, Chris Davis, been out there at Anchor, and then last but not least, Mr. Greg McElveen, who's a Special Assistant Chancellor on the strategic initiatives.
All right. Anybody else have any questions, comments, staff, anybody? Thank you all so very much. I think it's exciting and a thing to be able to look forward to in terms of being able to fund this, to be a part of this funding operation. So thank you so very much. Oh, I can sometimes my mind, because I just talked to Vicki Evans, the manager probably get mad at me, but anyway, Fairfield State, we talk about this entrepreneur hub and economics and all of that. And I think it's probably the second time, because I went to one out at Fairfield Tech, that one of the Federal Reserve governors is coming to Cumberland County and to Fairfield State. Judge, if you just want to give me just a little bit on that. I talked about finance person, finance people know finance people. And so you should have saw her eyes get big when I told her one of the Federal Reserve people were coming to town, and that, for her to be able to go and hear that presentation. You just give us a little, because this is big for Cumberland County to have one of the Federal Reserve governors to come to this community.
Yes, Richmond County, Richmond, Virginia, and that'll be next week, where we're not just coming to Fairfield State University, but we're going to take a tour up and down Murchison, downtown, when they really get a shot of understanding of Cumberland County. So we reached out to a number of representatives, not just at Fairfield State University, but Fairfield State Community College, Methodist County Regional. We see this as a galvanizing opportunity. It'll be his first time down in this region, Tier 1. He's most intrigued by the partnership. He's most intrigued by how we work and strategize there. So we're really, really excited about the opportunity.
Anybody have any questions or comments on that? Thank you. I think that's Monday. I guess it'll be here in town. And so that will spotlight Cumberland County with the Federal Reserve being in town. So thank you so very much for that. Thank you all. All right. That will take us, Madam Manager, to the health insurance plan.
Yes, sir. As you may recall at our last meeting, the board asked that we do a survey. And so we're going to share the results of that. We're also pleased to have Kevin Flynn with USI here again with us today.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. So I'll recap by covering the items that were approved back in March when the health insurance presentation was done, and then March 21st evening meeting. There was action taken to maintain the 1,000 deductible health reimbursement amount on the $2,000 deductible plan that we currently have in place. We're also going to, in fiscal year 2023, we're going to budget a $2 million transfer from the general fund into the health insurance fund to cover a portion of the increase in cost for fiscal year 2023. At that meeting, staff was directed to conduct an employee survey, and so after working with USI and USI communicating with Blue Cross on multiple different scenarios that could potentially be options, we settled on a $500 deductible option with the associated premium cost by the various levels of premium coverage. So employee or employee child, employee or family, etc. So the survey went out. PIO assisted us in conducting the survey. It was out for a week. We had a 45% employee response rate. The results of the survey, a picture of the survey monkey, and the results is actually in the packet of information that I emailed out Tuesday. And so that information is there for you. And today we have back again Kevin Quinn from USI. He's going to be covering any questions you may have and also providing an update.
Well, can you go ahead and, just in case, so people don't have their computer, what the, results of the survey were?
The results were, so we presented two options. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
So that they can see it.
Okay. Do you want me to talk through them or you just want to look through
Yeah,
them?
just because, some employees may be looking at it or come back and look at it.
Okay,
later on.
understood.
And
Okay,
so people, so they may not have gotten this packet that we got, so.
sure. Okay, all right. Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Okay, so the survey was based on two different options, or the scenario of I don't participate in the health insurance plan, so they could have an option to select if they don't. The first option is the current plan that's in place, and that is the plan that has the $2,000 deductible, where after incurring $1,000 in, over $1,000 in actual costs. After that, employees can request reimbursement for amounts exceeding the $1,000 deductible amount. So that's option one, and that was keeping premium levels as they currently exist. Option two was a $500 deductible option with premium amounts that would offset the cost to implement that. And so those were the choices, and we had a 76.74% who elected option one, and 15.79% who chose option two.
Okay, so, and that breaks down to 627 people, it's 817 altogether, because
Yes, sir.
percentages, they get me too.
Yes.
So sometimes you need to see numbers. 817 total people responded, and 627 of those wanted option one,
Which is the current plan.
which is the current plan,
Yes, sir.
and only 129, which was that 15%, wanted option two.
Correct.
And then there was the 61 who said they didn't participate.
That's right.
I think numbers sometimes, percentages can be a little misleading sometimes, but that just shows you overwhelmingly where I think, the employees were,
The
and,
majority.
yeah. Okay, I'm sorry, I just wanted to make sure that, it's all right.
And thank you all for spending some time here today. Often, Mr. Chairman, the numbers do talk, what comes out of employees' paycheck also influences what they want to pay, so it's not entirely surprising. But if we drill into a little more of these numbers here, hope I did this right. Sorry.
So nothing changes from what Madam Manager, nothing changes from the last presentation, it was just, that point we were at the board meeting and we wanted to see the survey.
Yes, and he's just gonna show you a little bit more information
Yeah.
financially.
Right, I
about
just
what
wanted to
that
see,
would look
yeah,
like.
yeah.
We're trying to show the total
Right,
picture.
I got you.
Here, it's helpful.
Just want to see.
It'll be safer if I use the orange. Okay, so we took the current contribution strategies and we said we kept the current plan as we did, but we said if you want a $500 deductible, here's gonna be the cost impact to you as an individual. And these bar charts on the side here is if we do nothing, keep the plan exactly the same. And then if everybody went to the $500 deductible plan, which is, we're gonna show you a melding of that would be a little bit unrealistic, and it's certainly based on the survey results.
I guess, I'm just trying to figure out,
Yes, sir.
if we're not doing,
Well, we didn't want to come to any conclusions, we wanted to make sure.
Well, I mean, I guess the board, we saw the survey, and not trying to cut your presentation short, but we were gonna go with option one to start with, but we wanted to survey, the employees, and it looks like the employees were with option one. So, you wanna hear that whole $500? Okay, so.
Well, then there's only two other options.
There you go.
We'll hit on to make sure, and I think it's a good decision, and we have some excellent planning in the next
We're
12
listening
months.
to the employees.
That's great. But just remember, I came here in December, and this was really, really bad.
It was.
3 months.
Yes.
The good news, if there's a silver lining here, is the last 5 months, we're down a little, up a little, down a little. When you average this out, it's pretty much where we projected. So we had a really bad start, but we're watching this carefully, and, you know, we suspect a lot of COVID issues were there and delayed planning. So, cautiously optimistic. There's one thing that is very important to talk about. We had not finalized the stop loss insurance that protects you against $200,000, the claims above $200,000. We hadn't centralized that. That happens a lot with stop loss insurance because they want to see how the rest of the claims come in. Blue Cross wanted to defer, I'm going to say very simply, a $600,000 deferral towards Cumberland County. We negotiated with the team back and forth, and what we have is something called aggregating deductible, but to keep it simple, it's an additional $200,000 in potential claims that could run through the system. And we agreed with that after a lot of negotiation, and we've kept our premium costs at the same level. So it's an additional $200,000 liability. We may see it, we worked it into the numbers. And so this is your column here. It's pretty much exactly what we had it before. So I don't even need to talk about the third column, and I'll keep moving, but you need to know that, that's important. Oh. Okay. So considerations for planning of 2024, we are proposing to do a full medical market study with Blue Cross and all the other carriers out there. Pharmacy, we look at the pharmacy, we did renegotiate pharmacy contract in favor of the county, but we want to make sure that there's any nickels on the table. We're very excited about the clinic and the possibilities where we could go with strategic planning around the clinic and using population health management strategies to help avoid some of these large claimants going forward. So we have a potential also, the clinic can charge co-pays, and we have potential to add a high deductible health plan in place in the future. You had 450 people in there a while ago. It's generally a preferable choice, so that's exciting to have that in planning in the future. And we plan to, if you'll see me, we'll plan to be here in January, not March, and get as far ahead of this as we can for strategic planning purposes. And any questions?
Does anybody have any questions or comments? So, Ms. Evans, recommendation?
If you're to keep the current plan in place,
But the board took that action.
yes, that action has already been taken, so there is no required action.
Unless we were gonna change it because of the employees.
Right, so we didn't know.
Right. And so it came back that they wanted the option that we actually chose.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Well, I'm trying to remember, because we were at the board meeting, whether when Commissioner Keith said, let's do this, did we actually pass it, or did we defer?
We did. I had asked the board to go ahead and approve option one with the funding for next year. We needed it for budget purposes. So those actions on the very first screen.
Because it wasn't gonna change what we did, it was just a matter of where the money would go.
Yes,
I got it now. That's
where it would
correct.
come from,
Right,
either
so-
employees or the county.
So we approved that already.
Yes, sir.
All right. So,
These actions
Yeah.
here.
all right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for your time. Thank you. Madam Manager, that will take us to consideration of agenda items, which is the request from the town of Hope Mills.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And joining us today from the town of Hope Mills, we have their town manager, Scott Mazzaros, and also the finance director, Drew Holland, as well. And so I'd like to provide you just a little bit of background. The town is requesting that we cost share to replace a sewer line that serves our Hope Mills Library and the town's old fire station. The sewer line dates back to the early 1990s, and it needs to be replaced in order to serve our library as well as the new town's public safety center. The county staff did look at other alternatives. And the only other option is for the county to run a separate sewer line under Golfview Road to connect to the PWC sewer on the town's campus. This option is more expensive, because it requires installing an additional lift station. Collaborating with the town seems to be the less expensive option since it utilizes gravity rather than a new pump station. And so their engineers have recommended or developed a projected cost of about $61,300. Our share would be $30,600. And so today, staff are seeking guidance from the board about moving this request.
What, Hope Mills here last month asking for some money?
I think that was for water instead of sewer.
It's water. It's all in there, water, sewer, where we going on all of this. If I can get if anybody got any questions, if not, I'll go to the chairwoman, vice chairwoman to make the motion to cost share this at $30,600.
I make a motion to cost share with the town of Hope Mills in the amount of $30,660.50.
Second.
All right, it's been moved in second. All those in favor?
That is unanimous.
That will move to the consent agenda. Thank you all for coming. Tell the mayor, that we got that resolved. That's a good thing. Madam Manager.
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda is consideration of an adjustment to the ABC general manager's salary. And so just to provide you a little bit of background, the chairman had asked that we bring this back for consideration today. At the June 10th, 2021 agenda session, the Board of Commissioners considered a request from the ABC board to increase the salary of the general manager at that time. Action on the request failed by a vote of 3-3, and according to the rules of procedure, it does not move forward. And so today, this item is being presented again for the board's consideration.
And I think I was not here on that day.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Commissioner Booth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was one of the nay three, and since then, I'm the liaison to the ABC board.
You saw what they do.
And I saw how well they do. They have a very efficient and effective meeting schedule. It's like they broke it down into about what's coming up in the next 6 months, what's coming down in the next 2 years. They're already looking at where developers are building subdivisions to try to stay ahead of it while the land is still cheap, or an old building that's out in the area is still reasonably priced before they find out that the government wants it always triples or something, at least. So I would move that we approve the adjustment as recommended by the ABC board for the general manager's salary.
Well, I don't think they sent one, so I have to, we have to put in the motion, what it is. I would tell you that, in terms of talking to the chairman of the ABC board, they sent, some allocation. They're about to send another 1.6 million, so, to let you know that. And so I think their request was to do a range, so they don't have to keep coming back. And that range, from what the letter that they sent me was between 150 to 180. They would make that adjustment. I will tell you that, and I think, Commissioner Booth is now the liaison, Commissioner Council's been there. I've been there, before I came on this board, as one of the board people, but also as one of the liaison. I would also like to say, as we do that for the manager, that we allow them to increase their stipend, at least $500 for the chair and the rest of their board. It's all their money, they'll come out of our money.
Yeah, but I was one of the next, because it was just an increase from the one, and I had my revenue, so I was concerned.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I did not understand when you said also allow an additional $100.
For they have a stipend on the ABC board, an additional $100, just raise there for the board, for each member of the board. I think the chairman makes a little bit more than the board members, but, it's been that way since the beginning of time, I think. And,
Since 1985,
that's right.
when I was chair.
And I think that, and I can give, Madam Vice Chair, because I think they got down here that, for this quarter or whatever, they're giving $6,195,646.83 with another 1.6 million on the way.
About 8 million.
So, they do an excellent job.
That's a kid up there, for that $250,000, whatever it was.
All right, so all of those in favor?
Could I have the motion restated, please?
Yes, the motion was to,
I move to approve the request from the ABC board to adjust the general manager's salary as they indicated at the June meeting. And the stipend for the board members.
well, I wasn't here at the June meeting. What, do we even know what the June meeting was? I'll tell you, Michael, they said from between the 150 and 180, so if you want to put that in the motion, that will take care of
I
that.
think it was just 150,000 even at the June meeting.
Yeah.
That's what I recall.
Okay, that's,
Okay.
Is that what you want?
150,000.
That's all I was asked to do.
Okay.
If you want to give them the discretion to do like 150 to 170, 180, I have no problem with
I mean, that way they, I mean,
that. Want to do that?
just in that they don't have to keep coming back from 150 to 170.
All right.
Pass, but I also wanted to include this year that we didn't
Oh, you want to make it retroactive to June?
retroactive, that's what I.
Okay. My motion is just to give the board the discretion between 150 and 170 and to make it retroactive to June 21 and the stipend for the board members.
Increase of $100.
Increase of 100 of their current.
We'll make that retroactive. Okay. All of those in favor?
Unanimous.
All right. Thank you so much for that. That takes us to.
Mr. Chair, we clarify, by statute, you can only do it forward, you can't make it retro. I never said that, meant that or not.
I tried.
Okay, it goes forward.
Look at the statute.
Okay, it goes forward. All right, that's fine. They tried to help, but that's
Don't want
okay.
to cause more problems.
No problems. Okay, so because the statute doesn't allow it, the law doesn't allow it.
You go backwards, you go forward.
Okay.
No, you fixed it, you fixed it.
All right, so that takes us to the resolution for the funding assistance for solid waste. This year, man, they were just solid waste.
So, Mr. Chairman and board members, come on forward, Amanda. As Amanda comes forward, we are working with department heads to take advantage of grant opportunities. And before we apply, there's information and resolutions by the board that we need. And I'm gonna ask Amanda to talk about the grant that she's looking at and the type of projects that we may be able to fund through these grant opportunities.
Yes, thank you so much. Solid Waste has identified 3 projects. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ms. Lynn.
Solid Waste has identified 3 projects that may be eligible for funding through the programs administered by the North Carolina Division of Environmental Quality's Division of Water Infrastructure Program, that's the DWI. And funding from the American Rescue Plan, ARPA, and the infrastructure funds will be administered by DWI in addition to their existing programs. The 3 projects Solid Waste has identified are stormwater ponds number 2 and number 3 improvements in this project will rehabilitate the existing ponds and implement nutrient removal for stormwater treatment, landfill leachate PFAS removal, landfill gas collection and treatment improvements. And this project would add a new treatment skid for the landfill gas collection system. We have a skid now, but the capacity is being taxed of that system now. So a resolution by the board requesting funding assistance is required as part of the application that is due on May 2nd. And so at this time, I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Kim Colson, who's the Regulatory and Funding Strategy Lead at HDR. And he's going to tell you just a little bit more about what we're looking to do and how these projects are a little unconventional for these programs, but we're trying to make them work within this program. So,
Mr. Manager, just to have you laugh a little bit, you have to be careful when you got two lawyers on this board that you put down there at DWI.
I agree.
It's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing in this case. It's a very good thing in this case.
You saw that too. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I hope you're all doing well.
Yeah.
Again, my name's Tim Colson, and I now work for HDR Engineering, and we're under contract with the county. I just recently retired within the last year from the Department of Environmental Quality, where I was the director for the infrastructure funding programs. And just to follow up on your comment about DWI, legislative people have apologized to me for coming up with that acronym.
Okay.
These projects are eligible for funding. One of the key things though to keep in mind with project eligibilities is just because it's eligible doesn't make it a high priority project. There's lots of infrastructure funding available over the next couple of years through the Division of Water Infrastructure. Some of that is American Rescue Plan money. Some of that is coming through the state revolving loan programs. Those programs traditionally are geared toward water plants, water lines, wastewater treatment plants, and sewer lines. So these projects don't quite fit the mold, but we're going to apply to them because right now there's so much money available. We think there's an opportunity to get some of the funding. Some of the funding may be grants, some of the funding may be low interest loans as well, which have a substantial savings and essentially a grant equivalent. We're going to follow up applications in the spring with working with the funding program and providing some comments to them as they develop a brand new stormwater grant program that will be available next fall, and offer some comments on those priorities, position these type projects to look ahead for that September funding round when another funding opportunity will come available. I'd be glad to entertain any questions.
Anybody got any questions or comments? Then I would entertain a motion that we adopt the resolution for the funding under the Clean Water State Revolving Fund. I get a motion.
Pages 1 and 2.
Yes, 1 through 3, I think it is.
1
Yeah.
through 3.
Together. All right. Yes. It's been moved in second. All those in favor?
Unanimous.
That goes to the consent agenda, the next meeting. The resolution for the Northern Cumberland County, I guess,
Following that same theme, as we are seeking grants, we need additional resolutions, and so I'm gonna have Mr. Walker talk about D&E, if you're okay with that, Mr. Chairman, together. But we need a resolution for the Northcrest system, as well as the Grays Creek Water and Sewer District. Mr. Walker.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair.
Good afternoon.
To the board. Just staying in line with the previous presentation, we're looking for the Board of Commissioners to approve the resolution for the engineering and public utilities departments to apply for the viable utility reserve grant. And this is focused primarily on water and wastewater systems that have been designated as distressed, focusing on subdivisions. The maximum civil award is up to $15 million, and we do have to apply by May 2nd. And so the staff is requesting the Board of Commissioners for this action, approve this action, forward it to the April 18th Board of Commissioners meeting as a consent consent item, and also to the Northwest Water and Sewer District Governing Board.
Any questions? If not, Commissioner Council.
Motion, I move that we approve the motion as printed on page 1 and 2 for item D.
That's the resolution. Is there a second for the Northwest resolution?
Second.
All right. All those in favor? That is unanimous. That takes us to the Graves Creek Water and Sewer Grant, which is the same process, and this has to be done by May 2nd, and there's another one on September the 2nd. And so is there a motion as to the Graves Creek resolution?
That is my motion.
Okay, that's the resolution for them to be able to forward that grant application. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and second. All those in favor? That is unanimous. And I think on that resolution for the northern one is to take it to the Norcross Sanitary District. So when we have a board meeting, we'll open it up and close it.
Yes, sir. We already had that set up, and we're to do the same for the Grace Creek
Okay.
District as well.
Just wanted to make sure it was resolved in the minutes to that point that we've got that. Okay. That takes us to Madam Manager, the formal bid.
Yes, sir. We need to replace another detention center boiler.
Yes, this project was originally spread out over 2 fiscal years, but when we went in to replace the boiler in this fiscal year, we discovered that it would be more prudent to replace both boilers at the same time because they shared the same vent stack. And so we're requesting the Board of Commissioners approve Air Plumbing and Mechanical Incorporated as being the lowest responsive bid at $357,000. The funds are budgeted and are in place for this replacement project. And we're asking that this item be moved forward to the Board of Commissioners regular meeting as a consent item. And once the contract completes pre-audit and is deemed legally sufficient, that they approve the chairman to execute the contract.
And I think Air Plumbing Company is a local plumbing and mechanical company.
Yes,
So I would entertain a motion to accept Air Plumbing and Mechanical Incorporated's lowest responsive bid through the formal bid process, that we move this to the April 18th consent item, and then approve contract execution by the chairman once the contract completes pre-audit and is deemed legally sufficient.
Second.
It's been moved and second. All those in favor?
Unanimous.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Walker. That takes us to the adoption of the revised code of ethics.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna ask the county attorney to present this item.
Mr. Wolf, can I ask you one, the next time we do this is that we highlight what was changed, because, I mean, you gave it to us, but we can't tell what was changed and what wasn't changed, because it's just one document. So if we can highlight sometime and read it, that'll allow us to know what the changes were.
Yes, the change, the bulk of the ethics code, you see, goes not changed, it was in the statute, there used to be 4, now there are 8. So that's, that was it. And it's a legal requirement that the board have a code of ethics that came out in 2010, 11, and that's, I think it was 2011, that's when this was originally adopted. There are not any amendments to it until now. And the amendments are occasions because the legislature made some changes in statutes that apply to commissioner conduct. The 2 things that they should be the most concerned for the board to be concerned about are a new statute, which is a criminal statute, which prohibits county commissioners and city council persons, but I'm just talking about county commissioners, for participating in or making a contract, including the award of money in the form of grants, loans, or any type of appropriation with any nonprofit for which that county commissioner serves as a director, officer, or governing board member. And that became particularly significant with the RFPs, because I know that some of you are
at least probably board members on some of the nonprofits that may have applied. That doesn't mean that we can't do a contract with them. It just means, and the federal law will require that too. You have to disclose it, and there is a disclosure form for that, and you would be unable to participate in the discussion of it or the vote on it if that comes to the board. So that was a significant change, and that's just a new statute that just happened last year. The other thing that it's not a criminal statute, but it's a change, is that now the finance officer is required to garnish compensation of any county commissioner who owes the county money. And that sounds like that can never happen.
Say that one more time.
That owes any money to the county. How that might come up is typically with travel, advances, and then something falls apart with the trip, and so just make sure you get those things straightened out.
Who's gonna pay your taxes? Or you owe the county, right? That could be a problem.
Well, it's a garnishment, if the statute specifically says garnishment of your compensation.
Yeah, for what's owed to the county, right?
Yes, sir.
So if you owe taxes, they can garnish your money, right?
Well,
Property taxes, car taxes.
They can do that anyway. That was already in place. Yeah, commissioners are treated just like all other taxpayers.
And everybody knows that we all treated this like everybody else, right?
It's simply my recommendation that you forward this, again, these are just changes of necessitated by changes in statute last year.
You've heard the, report, we entertain a motion to, for the ethics changes to the board. I would add, one proviso that, after it passes, that it's placed on given to every commissioner, placed on their desk, so that we have delivery of those, and they can't say that they didn't get a motion to that.
Second.
It's been moved and second. All those in favor?
And thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's a good idea to deliver them also.
Right.
And the only other item that I have
Well,
out here,
the minimum bid policy, I'm gonna pull that. I should have pulled it from the start. That was Commissioner Keith, more so than anybody else on here, and to discuss it without him being here, I don't think it's proper to him. So if, my other commissioners, don't object, we will move that to the next agenda item section, because it was his, that was what he wanted to talk about, and to do that without him being here doesn't really, it's not fair. Yes, ma'am.
Does this still stand so that we get the same kind of sermon that we get every time?
Yes, ma'am, so far. Yes.
About the minimum bids.
Yes, ma'am.
yes,
I understand what you're talking about. Madam Manager, do you have, any other items? Everybody got their monthly reports that, was in the, is there a code section?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
We have
got
an
a code section.
economic development
Okay.
matter.
So if I can, entertain a motion to go in the closed section.
Second.
Pursuant to the statute for economic development, NCGS, 143-318. Computer's going a little slow. But pursuant to that statute. All right, all of those in favor? All right, and we will go into closed session. If I can, make a motion to come out of closed session.
So moved, Mr. Chairman. Second.
It's been moved and second. All those in favor?
Unanimous.
Madam Manager, is there any other business to come before this, body?
No, sir.
If not, I would take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Okay. Been moved and second that we adjourn. All those in favor?
Unanimous.
We are adjourned.